Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. In this video, we are going to talk about what credit card companies don't want you to know. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So it seems like maybe once a week or so, I come across either a video or an article that talks about what credit card companies don't want you to know. And every single time, I completely fall for it and I watch the video or I read the article, and almost every single time I am disappointed. And so I thought to myself, what do credit card companies really not want you to know? And so I thought I would take a shot at making a list. Now, in truth, I don't know if there are a lot of things that credit card companies don't want you to know exactly. I think the truth is more something along the lines of a title like, what credit card companies hope you'll forget, or what credit card companies hope you're too lazy to remember, which is not nearly as punchy, but maybe a little more accurate. So I came up with 14 things that credit card companies don't want you to know. And these are in no particular order. Number one, people pay more when they use credit cards than they would if they had to use cash. There are numerous studies that show this. So if you have your credit card and it's just easy to put off that purchase until later, you are more likely to spend more money on it than if you had to pull cash out of your pocket to make that purchase. Number two, there is no reason for a credit card to charge you foreign transaction fees. There's really nothing extra that the credit card companies have to do when you purchase something outside of the United States, and yet they want you to believe that somehow you should be charged more when you make purchases outside of the country. Now, this is something that a little bit is starting to go away in the credit card industry, but you'll also notice that when you get a credit card or when you see credit card marketing, sometimes they'll say no foreign transaction fees as if that's a feature of the credit card, when in reality, there's no reason to charge them in the first place. Number three, if you take out a cash advance on your credit card, you're usually going to start paying interest immediately, and it's usually going to be at a higher interest rate than you would pay on purchases that you make with that card. So some people think they could take out a cash advance and they can just pay it off before the next due date and they won't pay any interest, but that is not true. You will pay interest immediately, and it will be at a higher interest rate than you would pay for your purchases. Number four, credit card companies don't want you to know that paying 16%, 18%, 20% interest is ridiculously high, especially compared to other loans out there on the market. Most of us would not pay 16% for a mortgage. Most of us would not pay 20% on our car loans, but so many people will happily get a credit card, charge purchases, revolve that balance, and pay an extra 15 to 20% on their goods and services versus what they would pay if they were paying in cash. Number five, the credit card companies don't want you to know that a large percentage of people never redeem their credit card rewards. So a couple of years ago, there was a survey, I believe it was by Bankrate, that said 30 or 31% of people had never redeemed their credit card rewards. I've seen older studies that pegged it anywhere between 25 and 35%. So a lot of people get credit cards and they think they're going to earn cash back or they're going to earn points toward travel or merchandise or whatever the case may be, and then they never redeem them. They simply get lazy and never redeem them, or they're not quite sure how to redeem them, whatever the case may be. Now, part of the onus there, I think, is on the credit card companies, because they at some point probably should just automatically force you to redeem your credit card rewards, but some of the onus is on the credit card customers who don't know how things work and never really do the work to figure it out. Most of my credit cards show me how many points I have in fairly large type when I go online or on my statement, so you can see the rewards you have, but many people never take advantage of them, and the credit card companies don't mind that much. Number six, the credit card companies don't really want you to know that your reward points have different values depending on how you redeem them. So there are many reward programs that give you a range of options on how to redeem your points, and most people just assume, if they've never really dealt with credit card points much in the past, that all the redemption options are the same, that the value of 1 point is going to be the same across any of the possible redemption options, and that is simply not true. Many of them can be double or even triple the value if you use them in certain ways versus others. Usually if you're buying merchandise, you are going to get a very low valuation. So if you take your points and you decide you're going to buy, I don't know, a coffee maker or something, it's probably going to be a terrible redemption rate. On the other hand, if you use those points for travel, sometimes you can find really great redemption rates, especially depending on the program, if you transfer your points into the frequent flyer or hotel programs or whatever of the travel companies. So there is a big difference, or at least there can be a big difference in redemption rates when you use your points. Many people are just simply not aware of that, and the credit card companies don't mind so much if you don't know. Number 7, some of the credit card companies don't want you to know that 0% financing is often a trap. So 0% financing sounds great, but there is something often that store credit cards in particular use called deferred interest. And what that means is they give you a 0% offer and they say you don't have to pay anything if you pay off your balance in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or maybe even more. But what it says in fine print is if you don't pay off the complete balance within that promotional period, that 6, 12, 18 months, whatever, then you are going to be charged all of the interest from the date of purchase, which means they're going to go back to the day you made the purchase when you thought you were getting 0%. And if you haven't paid it off, they're going to charge you all the interest like the 0% offer never existed, and it's going to be at the regular interest rate on that terrible store credit card, which is usually going to be over 25%, sometimes even over 30%. Number 8, the credit card companies don't want you to know that annual fees are not worth it on their cards unless you spend a lot of money on those cards. So there are certain cards on the market that have annual fees and they have better rewards if you pay that annual fee. But if you don't do the math, you're not going to realize that if you don't spend very much on your cards, then those annual fees are not going to be worth it. You might be getting a higher percentage in cash back or more points for every purchase, but if you don't make a lot of purchases, well, then that card is not going to do you a whole lot of good. So you have to look behind the marketing, you have to do the math to figure out if it is right for you. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are someone that spends a lot, paying annual fees can make sense. That doesn't really fit into the theme of this video, but it is true. So if you're someone that spends a lot, annual fees can make sense, but if you don't spend very much on your credit cards, then you probably should avoid them. Number 9, the credit card companies don't want you to know that making only the minimum payment on your card will leave you hopelessly in debt. So you get a credit card, you go out and make a bunch of purchases, and the bill comes and the credit card company says you don't need to pay for all that. You only need to pay this much and we'll let you continue to use the card, no problem. And some people fall into that trap very easily. It feels good to make a much smaller payment and continue to have use of the card. Now, you know and I know and the card companies know that you know and I know that if you only pay off a portion of it, that you are going to pay interest and that you are going to go into debt further. But this is one of those things where I say the credit card companies not so much don't want you to know, but they want you to forget and they want you to be lazy. And so if you're only making that minimum payment, obviously if you're paying 15, 20% interest on that credit card, you are going to build a bigger balance and you are going to pay a ton of interest on everything that you purchase. Number 10, the credit card companies don't want you to know that the retailers that you go to have to pay merchant fees for every purchase made with credit cards. So you go to a store and you make a purchase using your card, that retailer has to pay the credit card companies a fee, and as a result, they charge higher prices. So you actually end up paying more at the stores because of the fact that those stores are accepting credit cards. So if you're getting rewards from your cards and you think you're beating the system, the truth of the matter is that you're actually paying more for the things that you buy with your credit cards because of the fact that those merchants have to pay fees to the credit card companies in order to accept them. Number 11, many credit cards would prefer that you not know that you have to reach a certain level of rewards before you can redeem them. Now, some credit cards will let you redeem anytime you want to, but other ones are going to have a certain threshold before you can get your cash back or before you can use those points. Now, if you are somebody that charges a lot on your credit cards, that's probably not a big deal. But if you're someone that doesn't put a ton of purchases on your credit cards and you are gaining rewards, it could be a long time before you can actually redeem those rewards. And so some people get credit cards and they're excited to redeem their rewards, and then they find out out that it's going to be months and months before they have hit the redemption levels in order to use those rewards. Now, I think that is getting better. Actually, more and more cards are letting you redeem earlier, but you should always check that out if you're getting a new credit card to find out what those levels are in order to actually redeem the points or cash back that you've earned. Number 12, the credit card companies don't want you to know that those convenience checks that they sometimes send in the mail are actually balance transfer checks, meaning if you use them, the balance from the other card is going to show up on the card that gave you the convenience checks, and there's going to be a balance transfer fee in most cases. So if you get those, make sure that you understand exactly what you are getting into. Moving your debt around and having to pay 3, 4, 5% on top of it is not necessarily the right financial move, although in some cases it could be if you're paying a ridiculously high interest rate on one card and you could get a 0% offer somewhere else. Number 13, the credit card companies do not want you to know that there are other credit cards on the market. So they love to try to get you involved in their card or their little card ecosystem and make you forget that anything else exists out there in the world. And for some people, if they are lazy and don't check out what else is going on in the market, they can find themselves getting rewards that are half of what they could be getting somewhere else, whether that's cash back or that's points or whatever. Some people will have the same credit card for 20 years and maybe it doesn't even have any rewards at all, even though they pay off every month, they never pay interest, they don't even know they could be getting all these other rewards elsewhere. So the credit card companies are more than happy for you to be either ignorant, lazy, or both. Number 14, the credit card companies don't want you to know that hot dogs are sandwiches. So that's it, 14 points to ponder. Are there other things the credit card companies don't want you to know that I have forgotten? I would love to hear about it in the comments section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye.